What's up, everybody? CJ here with Proximity, and I have a very, very, very special guest, a friend that is near and dear to my heart. We've actually done a lot of business together in the past. Mr. Pablo Luna. How you doing, Pablo?
Awesome, Chris, man. Thank you for having me out here.
Thank you. Pablo, I guess let me kind of explain how difficult it's been for us to be able to finally sit down.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
It's been so difficult. Obviously you had a baby recently, a few months ago.
Yeah.
And congratulations on that. Your first, right?
Yeah. First daughter. Yeah.
And what's her name?
Celia.
Celia.
Cece.
Cece, okay. And beautiful. I know y'all been doing the pizza.
Yeah, that
thing,
was
right?
I love pizza, so like we do like every month one slice of pizza for the month, and then her picture next to it in the pizza box. It was an excuse for me to get pizza once a month, you know.
Where do you get your pizza from?
A place called Capri.
Capri. Okay. Is
Pizza.
that like a local place?
Yeah, it's like in New Tampa area, but it's really good. It's just like New York style, New Jersey style, thin crust. But yeah, I guess that's like pepperoni, just no cheat, like just
Can't go wrong with pizza, man. And by the way, everybody, Pablo's from Tampa.
yes,
Right.
yeah. Well, originally born here in Houston, but grew up in Tampa, went to college in Tampa, and then after college, came back to Houston. And that's when I got into real estate. After a couple years in real estate here in Houston, decided to move back to Tampa because that's my home, and because I knew the market here in Houston, just kept on going. And did a little bit of stuff in Tampa, but Houston has just been so good for me, and now I have to come back and talk to you, hang out with some other people, and just kind of just spread the word about what we're doing.
Absolutely. So, guys, I'm gonna give you the highlights of why Pablo is here with us, but then we're gonna go back to the beginning and we're gonna kind of just talk about Pablo's journey. Mr. Pablo Luna is actually a friend of mine, and I don't know if he knows it, but he's kind of like a mentor to me too. We've, like I said, we've done a lot of real estate transactions together. For those that don't know, Pablo Luna has a very big buyers list here in the greater Houston area. I mean, I've personally done a lot of deals with Pablo, and I got to be honest with you, I think in Houston, I think his cash buyers list is better than like investor list. So, you heard that, Robert Winsley. Sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. Step your game up, man. So that's, Pablo was a real estate investor just like I was or am. We still do real estate. But a funny thing happened, and he started getting interested in wanting to buy a business.
Yeah. Around the same time you did.
Around the same time, yeah. It was just
alike.
Proximity is power, guys. It's a law, right? And after looking at a few, he finally decided to buy an insurance company,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Allstate?
Allstate.
Okay. So we are going to really deep dive here in a little while. Just this whole, there's a whole movement of real estate investors that are looking at the landscape of real estate, looking at how competitive it is, and realizing that maybe I could take a lot of some of the skills that I know and pivot into owning a small cash flowing business. Do you find that there are complementary skills running the business that you bought and running your real estate company?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the marketing's, kind of the same when you're interacting with the person, talking to them about their business, just peeling back the layers of, like an onion, just to get to build that rapport with them. So it's really just the same thing. You're just looking at different types of numbers and different types of statements and stuff like that. And honestly, I think dealing with some businesses is a little bit more straightforward than real estate sometimes, because of you have so many different variables with what construction costs will be for you compared to somebody else, and all the comps and things like that, where on a financial statement it's just numbers.
Yeah.
Like you can't fake those. So that's it.
There was a big aha moment for me, I think after my first acquisition, non-real estate, right? I think it was the first CPA firm that we bought. It dawned on me that as a real estate investor, flipper, wholesaler, novation people, all of that stuff, I would say 95+% of your day in and day out as a real estate investor is spent on marketing, right? Like the leads, the calls, the texts, the follow-ups, the emails, the visits, the appointments, PPC leads, all of that stuff, right? And a light bulb kind of just turned on for me after it was kind of like the business had closed already. We're in the kind of that first 90-day sprint that they always talk about. And I'm like, hey, we haven't done marketing. And it was just like my habit, like, hey, like you got to wake up every day and like slam energy drinks and like cold call and do all of that stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, like we haven't done any of that. And then I look at the accounts and I'm like, there's money coming in. There's cash flow coming in. There's already established clients. There's already bookkeeping clients, right? Month in and month out. And I'm like, holy moly, like you don't have to spend 95% of your day marketing and cold calling and trying to just, it's like the business, well, that CPA firm was, I think, 39 years open. So it's like, you have the benefit of 39 years of clientele now. Did you kind of feel some of that when you first got in there?
Absolutely. So honestly, the agency I took over is actually 39 years old also. So
Sweet.
The owner, really great with systems and processes. So the company works like a machine. It was like a car that's running. So once I came in, all I had to do is just grab onto the wheel, start looking at the little things here and there, make small little adjustments, but it ran. It goes by itself. Like they're running, they're doing everything today.
Yeah. And you're making money.
Yeah.
You're making money sitting here with me.
Exactly. Yeah. And like with insurance, it's, you have renewals, and that's the book of business. And that's what I really bought, was a pretty large book. And then just knowing that you're going to have that money coming in every single month, it's like, it's a lot easier to forecast, to plan and do different things where, we could do a ton of deals in 1 month in real estate, and then the next month kind of, do a little bit less. And then you're like, how do I plan this properly and stuff like that? So I really liked that part of being able to forecast of like.
It's a lot less stressful, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing that the money's coming in every month. It's because wholesaling, and you know this, very active money. Flipping, very active money, man. You got to be out there hustling every day.
And that's also kind of how I got from real estate into buying the businesses, is that, we started wholesaling and stuff like that, and then I started buying rentals and doing flips. And I was always told that, you want to get enough properties so that you have all this passive income, and real estate's going to become passive and all that type of stuff. But it's not true, man. Real estate, especially now, and wholesaling, finding those deals, it is a full-time job, and it is a hard job.
Yeah.
Especially with how many people are coming out there now. So, seeing these, realizing that you can just buy something that's already going, it was just like, yeah, that makes way more sense. Like, I can buy another job. I have a job now. I can buy this other job that I know exactly how much it's going to pay me. And then that's what got me into it. And then now that I've closed on it, and I realized, like, you don't have to do too much. Like, they're running it. They're doing, the people there who are in the day-to-day, they run the business. Yes, I'm still doing like the numbers. I'm, checking on all my people and things like that. But it's just like high-level management stuff, and it just really opens your eyes that you can, like, now I'm starting to buy back my time,
Right.
Now I'm like, I want to buy another business so that I don't have to do even less stuff, and then hire a bigger manager to oversee everything. And then, like you said, it's just continuously making money. Like, and that's just like.
Do you think your next acquisition will be kind of more in that roll-up method of buying another insurance company, or you want to get into another industry?
So, a little bit of both, but my main focus right now probably is going to be buying another insurance agency. With Allstate, to be able to buy another agency, you have to hit certain criteria, like certain markers.
KPIs.
Yeah, so like I'm on track for that already for this year to be able to do that. So we just got to do a little bit more life insurance, and then I'll be able to buy another agency. And there's honestly an agency, I think I told you when I first bought this business, or when I first looked into the insurance agencies, I spoke to this agency that was close to my home, and I ended up buying that one and buying another one. But that agent came back to me multiple times while I was under contract, like pretty much begging me to buy his agency. So I saw that it's still for sale, so I probably reached out to him. And honestly, if I could take over that, I'd probably be one of the larger agencies in Central Florida for Allstate.
Was that a broker
Yeah.
for sale with a broker?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to give him a call.
Well, no, he was for sale by owner. He did it himself, and I found him on LoopNet too.
So he had some real estate involved too?
So he did, yeah. So
Is the one you bought with real estate?
no,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
yeah. So that's the cool thing. So I bought this with an SBA loan. With an SBA loan, when you buy a business, it's for 10 years. But if you put real estate onto it, that can get jumped up from 20 to 25 years.
Yep.
And then the interest rate changes also. So that really piqued my interest when he came back to me and he was like, hey, I'll sell you my agency with this commercial park office building. And I was like, I looked at the numbers and I looked at the business and I realized the business that I actually bought was a better choice. For a lot of different reasons. One, the guy that I bought it from, he was creating a software for AI. So now I get to be his test market. So we're rolling out like voice AI that's doing calling and booking appointments for us so that my salespeople can come in to work and
Just to close it.
Just close it, and it's super cool, all the stuff that AI is going to be doing. So I'm really happy that I get to be part of that and be one of the first to it. Wow. So buying this business just really came together in like a perfect,
Right. And cash flow, you don't have to tell us. You can tell us. It doesn't matter. Just ballparks. What does cash flow look like, man?
Cash flow is very good. So cool thing about working with Allstate and having the franchise and having the renewals coming in, the lender that I work with, they actually get paid directly from Allstate. So I don't even have to pay my loan. They just take it from the commissions. So then everything else after that comes to me. So that's the big thing. It's paying off, $20,000+ loan every single month.
The debt pay down.
Pays all my employees, pays some of my expenses, stuff like that. And then I take a small salary. But in 6 months, I'll get another more renewals, and then they'll increase it more. But the big thing about this agency is that with Allstate, you can achieve a bonus up to 4% of your book of business. So depending on your growth. So we're trying to max that out this year. The owner before me, he's maxed it out for the last few years. So it comes out to being multiple six figures, and that's really where the big agency makes money.
Right, the big cash. Ballpark, you don't have to give us exacts. How much did the acquisition? How much did you buy the business?
So about 1.5.
Okay,
So and then I also took working capital. For about another 150,000. So
10%.
Yeah.
Actually, for those that don't understand what working capital is, what is working capital?
So working capital, and this is actually, I wanted to talk about this part because structuring these deals for businesses, it's like the Wild West. You can do whatever you want as long as the seller agrees to it. So you need 10% down to be able to buy a business. But that 10% down can come from the seller as a seller note or from you, whatever. So I got the seller to hold on to a 5% carry note. So that only needed to bring 5% down, which roughly came out to be about like 85,000. So it's like when you flip houses, you have your rehab funds. You can do the same thing with businesses. In insurance, so say everything I write this month, I'll get paid out next month for.
Okay.
So the month I take over that agency for the first month, I have no income except for the renewals. So I negotiated to get the commissions from the seller in my first month so that I could pay out my staff and everything. But the lender knows that you're not making money that first month, so they can give you this working capital and they roll it into your loan so that you can pay your employees, you can do more marketing or do whatever you want with that funds. But I didn't need it. I didn't need the money because I negotiated to get the commissions.
Right.
So I literally went to closing with $85,000 and I left with $145,000. You know, so like I literally got paid to buy this business
Yep.
that pays me, you know, six figures a year in salary, and then the agency makes multiple six figures. You know, like it's awesome.
It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? It's like when people do like they wholesale the deal to themselves almost,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, you want to flip the house, but I'm gonna buy it and kind of wholesale myself the $10,000 fee
Use
at
that.
closing.
Yeah.
Yep, or 20, whatever it is. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's kind of like working. I think that's the best way to put it, especially since most of the audience is real estate related. It's like that rehab money, right? They're just the SBA is going to give it to you. It's there. Do it. You know, use it. Make sure the business kind of transitions smoothly and can operate. Right. That's the perfect way to put it. And yeah, my first deal, I walked away with 50 grand. Right. I'm like, this should be illegal.
Yeah, like and that's like I said, that's why I told you, like, I wanted to get out here to tell everybody how awesome this is, because like real estate is awesome, and I'm still planning on buying real estate. The money I make from this is going to go into real estate and
Correct.
buying other businesses, so it all works together. But I have not seen one real estate investment that pays me money to buy it, pays me money as I every year, you know, and then in 10 years it's paid off, and now I have a huge asset.
And meaningful cash flow, right? Like a rental's you're gonna squeeze out $150 a month, maybe.
Exactly, you know. And then something goes wrong, and then there goes all your money.
There
for the
goes
year,
all your money.
You know, so like and the concept, the thought, you know, like it was really exciting when I got into real estate, that buy all these rentals, it's gonna be passive and all that stuff. But like as you learn, it's slow.
Yep.
It's very slow to
Yep.
find that right house. Unless you're buying apartments and bigger things
Right.
like that. But the same thing with buying the business, you just got to think bigger. You know,
Yep.
like that's why we went from wholesaling houses, flipping and stuff like that, now to businesses.
Yep.
And I honestly want to go even bigger on the businesses.
Ooh, don't get me excited, Pablo. What do you like? Give us your vision, man. What are you thinking? Roll ups and
Like
stuff?
$15 million, like acquisition price, somewhere around there, with like a real like management team, maybe some like SaaS business or something. You know, I got it again. So this is the cool thing about buying business. You don't need to know the industry necessarily. You just need to make sure you can hire the people who know the industry, or buy the business that has the right people who know
Yep.
the industry. And it's the same thing with my insurance business. You know, you do have to be licensed. So I did get a license about 8 months before buying the business.
Is that pretty hard or easy? Or?
So I took both the life and health and property and casualty. I took both classes and took the exam, state exam, in 3 weeks, which is pretty fast compared to whenever I talk to other people, but it's doable. So
Right.
it's not
Right.
not super hard.
Right.
But I had no idea about it. It's my point. And like, but I have people on my staff that have been in insurance for 15, 20 years that they know way more than me, you know? So again, you just don't need to. You don't
Yeah.
need to have those barriers to scare you that like, what am I going to do? You know, like I don't know anything about this. Everything in life to me is in skill, and skills are learned.
It's
So-
the pottery story that you
Yeah.
told me, right? You repeat that story for me, man, just for the people.
Yeah, so there was a professor that he had 2 classes, and he told the first class to make one clay pot, and it's just the perfect clay pot that they can make, just one though. And then the other class just had to make as many clay pots. Didn't matter how they turned out, they just had to keep on doing it all year long. By the end of the class, the class that had to do just the one pot made subpar pots, but the class that had to do tons and tons of them, by the end of the class, they were making the best, nicest pots ever. You know, and it's just the repetition, and it's just getting out there and starting, and not understanding you're going to make a mistake, and just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going, because eventually you're going to figure it out.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And honestly, that's how I went with buying the business. Talk to one seller, talk to another seller, talk to another seller. You know, I think early on I found that the dry cleaner, and I went under contract for that. And I'm glad that it didn't work out. And you told me, you were like, I think you just want to buy something right now. And I was like, I think you're right. So then, I took my time, and I really went through the steps and learning. Got your course, went through that class and everything like that. Learned different things, and just repetition. And then now I'm here. You know. So.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
That's beautiful. So Pablo, and I told you guys we're gonna go back now. That was a lot of fire just right out the gate. But let's go back and kind of. I just want to really deep dive your journey. You know, you kind of started off letting us know you were born here in Houston. I think as a child you moved to Tampa, or
Yeah,
like kind of
when I was like 9 years old.
9.
Like I said, then I grew up in Tampa, went to University of Tampa, and then
What'd you get a degree in?
I actually dropped out.
College dropout.
right,
Okay,
baby.
Kanye.
I mean, yeah. So I always worked. I came from a modest family, you know, so I always needed to work. And once I got into college, I started bartending and things like that, and the nightlife. You know, it's just hard to go to class, and I always knew that like school wasn't for me. I always knew I wanted to work for myself. You know, I got into a little bit of trouble, and that's actually why I went back to Houston, and then got into real estate with my cousin, and then just realizing that like, you know, I can work for myself. How quick you can make big money.
Did you start off wholesaling with your
Yes.
cousin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what were you like? How did you start? Were you doing yellow letters? or
Yellow
like-
letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Postcards, yellow letters.
Same here, man.
Yeah, I mean, this was 12 years ago when like that's what you did.
Yep.
And bandit signs. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
Doing those.
I've done my fair share of
Yeah.
those too, man.
Yeah. So my cousin started flipping, and I was doing like the wholesale stuff.
What was your first deal?
My first deal was actually a dispo. So it was
So
somebody
now it all
else's-
makes sense.
Yeah, right. It's full circle from there. So my other company, Flipping Houston, is we do a lot of dispositions here in Houston.
Actually, give them the website, man.
Yeah, flippinghouston.net. And then we also we have wholesaledeals.com. You can check out our deals there. Then my email, pabloluna@flippinghouston.net. You know, we help a lot of people sell their deals. You know, so that's my first deal was that. I went to a networking event, and there was another newbie, and he had a deal under contract, and I was like, hey, I've been putting together my buyers list. You know, I think it's pretty effective. Let me help you sell it. So he gave me the opportunity to sell his deal, and I sold that. I think I made like $700. Well, my commission.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually, my cousin made more.
Right.
But I was like, it works, right? And then I got my real first deal out in A-Leaf. I think it was like on Newbrook or something like that, in a small little house. And then I think we made like $7-10 on the flip on that. I mean, on the wholesale on that. And then that's when I was like, we can do this. And then we just kept on doing more and more.
You were living here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so after like a couple years, I decided to move back to Houston. I mean, to Tampa. My wife, my girlfriend, and my wife now live there. So like that was always my home.
So you met your then girlfriend, now wife, in Tampa?
Yeah.
Okay.
In high school. Yeah.
So you were over here. Y'all were doing a long distance relationship? Oh, okay. So that must have been a little
Yeah,
tough.
it was tough. Yeah, and that was always my reason. Like I knew I had to get back. I needed to get there. So
Got you.
Did what we had to do here, and I was like, I'm gonna go to Tampa and do it on my own. So my cousin and I split ways.
Oh, y'all were working together that whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Were you, by the time you left Houston, were you full on dispo mode already,
No.
or you were full on more acquisitions?
yeah, we were still doing acquisitions back then. And when I went to Houston, I mean back to Tampa, I had partnered with a couple other investors who were buying at the auction every single month. So I would fly back into Houston. We'd go to the auction. I would either wholesale those properties, or we would fix them up a little bit and sell them owner finance, get the note, take some payments on it, sell the note.
How did you stumble across your first note deal? Because for everybody out there, Pablo has probably spent more time than he wanted to explaining the note game to me, and I don't think I still fully understand it. I'm just playing. I get it, but like that's a whole nother world that most like basic real estate investors don't ever even think about. How did you get into that note flipping?
So I think it was just I got into it through subject twos. I went to a class on how to do subject two deals, and I just ran with it. Found my first subject two.
Was that Pace or?
It might have been John Jackson. I think, maybe.
Okay. I thought he was a lease option
Yeah,
guy.
lease option, but he was talking about sub twos also. Back then, too.
Really? Okay.
And I think it was like one of AC Ramos's one of his
I
first
just saw
offices.
John.
Yeah.
I was at Tim Mai's event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I liked, again, starting out in real estate, we didn't have a lot of money. Subject twos is an easy way to get into a property without having a ton of cash. Being here in Houston, there's a lot of, illegals, people who just, contract workers, things like that. They can't get loans, but they can own property. And they have tons of cash. They just, whatever it is. So
They're just not bankable.
yeah, they're not bankable. And you don't really have to do a ton of work to these houses because they usually can do it themselves. So you don't have to worry about the rehab. So we would put these people in there and then wrap the note. So say we go out of subject to with a 5% interest rate and say there's $100,000 left on the note. We would list that same property at maybe $130,000, take $10,000, $15,000 down, create a new note to the lender, to the borrower, to the owner, at like 10%. So now they're paying us on a higher note amount and a higher interest rate. We take that money and we pay off our subject to. So you literally just created this cash flow out of nothing.
Right.
And
How many notes have you flipped, man?
Ballpark. Tons. I couldn't even tell you, man.
Hundreds?
Probably close to, I would say. There was a good time period I was doing a lot.
Yeah,
when they were like interest rates were low.
Yep.
That was 10% interest. Those
spread,
notes
right?
were selling like hotcakes. You could buy them for like 95 cents on the dollar, or selling for 95 cents on the dollar. So I was going out buying them from other people and then selling them to an institution because I knew they were going to be paying at that amount. But that's what I liked. I like notes more than rentals because one, you can get a bigger cash flow than on a rental, and then if something goes wrong, doesn't matter.
And you're not dealing with the people because you're selling or you're wrapping, but you're selling the house.
Yeah.
Like repairs are their problem, leaks are their all of that is their headache, right?
Yeah. So you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to figure out like, hey, this rental makes me $300 a month, and then now I got to go fix the garbage disposal, and it goes to $300.
So Pablo, I got a question. When you moved from Houston back to Tampa, there's a mindset thing here. A lot of people probably would have fell into this trap of like, I'm moving to Tampa, therefore any and everything I do has to be in Tampa. You went back to Florida with the mindset of, I'm going to scale and crush and become the biggest, baddest cash buyers guy in Houston while I'm in Tampa. Was that the plan?
So, I've done the virtual part of real estate for the last 10 years now, but it was all by accident. Like you said, I just went back to Tampa, and honestly, I tried doing real estate in Tampa. The market is different than Houston, and even the community.
I think it's a disclosure state too, right?
No,
it's a non-disclosure.
Non-disclosure,
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just, you can go to a million networking events out here, and you can get help from tons of people. I just never saw that in Tampa.
Really?
So it was very, I just tried to do things my own and never really got it. But like since I knew Houston's market, I was like, I just got to keep doing what I know because that's how I was getting money, and it just continuously grew and grew. And like people always joke around like, you live in Florida and you're taking a lot of money here in Houston, stuff like that. But it was just accident, honestly. It was just I needed to make money, and that's where I knew I could do it.
And at one point, like your entire livelihood predominantly was Houston real estate based, and you were in Tampa.
No, up in like
until recently, probably, right?
Yeah. And then as I grew, I hired a few people, and then now I have Nikki. And since I bought the agency, I put Nikki in charge of flipping Houston. So now I have that business runs all on its own. So that's
how many hours a week do you now spend on flipping Houston? Besides when I bug you,
an hour. Honestly.
An hour a week.
Yeah, I get I'm in like text messages threads and stuff like that. I don't really read them anymore. I let Nikki handle pretty much everything else, and then she'll send me updates and things like that. But I focus right now mainly on the insurance side and talking with different business owners, and that's where my dollar per value comes into play.
So you got into real estate with your cousin, and you kind of just took off from there. Like you just grabbed it, right? You learned about notes, and you kind of just took it and you ran with it. Now you got a business, and now you're just running with that. There's a pattern here of kind of like taking action, but I think it's taking action efficiently. Like, how do you go about, like, let's take the note flipping. The idea gets here. I don't know how, right? I don't know, a YouTube video or something happens, but you're one of the very few that actually materialize it, and it happens, and not just once. It happens in a replicatable fashion. How do you get from that to here so quickly and so efficiently, whereas other people, they might spend their whole lives with it only up here?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know, but that is literally what I say is the reason why I'm successful, and anybody is successful is they just try, they just do it, you know, like.
He's not willing to. You're okay messing up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's all part of it. Maybe before I wasn't like that, but I love the struggle now. You know, like it all means something. It's you learn from it, you grow from it, you become better. You know, and taking action is really it is like. And there was something I saw that was like most people think in hours and days. You know, so when you say I'm going to go do this, and you know, like, or when I say I'm going to do it, I don't have like an end. I mean, the only thing is the goal, right? And I don't have a time frame on that. It could take years, it could take decades. That's just what it's going to be. And when you start thinking that way, you know, you get rid of all those the big hurdles that are in front of you. Like, how do I get started? How is this thing? I've got 10 years to figure this out, right? So let me just start today. All right, I'll try this one. Did it work? All right, no, let's shoot it again. Keep going, and I just, you know, that's it. Honestly, really.
Yeah, no, that's I just find it interesting because, you know, I've had tons, you know, a lot of students in real estate and in the business side, and it can be a struggle for a lot of people to take it from conceptual to reality. But I think it's that right there. Like, don't try to be perfect.
Your part is the always stay uncomfortable, and that's a huge thing. And that's something you can absolutely learn. And so another little bit more about me is I race Ironmans. You know, and I used to be over 200 pounds, like I'm a bigger guy. And you know, now I compete and do all those awesome things. But training on there, putting myself in that uncomfortable position for an Ironman, day in and day out, filling my mind with great stuff like on 4-hour bike rides, just good podcasts, like repetition, things like that, is what made me learn that, you know.
No, but it's very positive. Like force feeding yourself, right? That positivity is I mean, that's literally, I think, the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful person. Because if you're constantly feeding yourself negative thoughts, I'm not good enough, I'm too fat, I'm too small, I'm whatever, you know, it's going to become reality for you.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is actually, I actually wanted to ask you, this was on my list to ask you, you're getting very busy very quickly. And like you said, the goal's big, right? We're talking multi millions of dollars. And I'm right there with you. As you're getting busier, health can become a very forgotten thing, or it can become everything. How important has your health and your fitness and all of these things been, and how have you seen that play out in the success of acquiring the new company, tackling on new problems every day, you know, life be lifing, you know? Yeah. How pivotal has health and fitness been for you?
Oh, it's amazing. If I go a few days without running, like I'm gonna get upset, you know, get irritable. But I just signed up for a marathon here in Houston in January, and then another Ironman in Canada next year. But when I train like that, I just feel like I'm on peak, like, you know, the top as I can be in every aspect, you know. So I'm just firing. So I like having those things there for me. And like you said, some people it does consume them and do it, you know, it's super all out. But again, with buying the business and understanding that these are machines that work themselves, like, you don't have that much to do. And and now Nikki runs my other business, so I'm getting a lot more time now. And I still love to cook. I'm sure you see my Instagram and stuff like that. But now,
and he can do it up. He can do it up.
yeah. So, but now we have like I hired a caterer that like does like our food or meal preps. So
There you
like,
go.
now I don't have to work. I don't have to go to the grocery store, do dishes, cook and stuff like that. And now I can focus on training more, doing the things I want. So now I'm just trying to figure out how to buy back more time to go do other things that I want to do.
Right.
So
what is a typical day, a random Tuesday, right? You got the businesses running. You got your daughter, Cece, obviously, spending time with the wife. Like, there's just so much, your health, all of this stuff. What is a typical random Tuesday from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you probably pass out at night? What does that kind of look like just on a normal, typical day?
Yeah, so probably I wake up with my daughter. Once I get to full train, I'll wake up earlier, but she wakes around like 6-ish. We'll go out for a run for about an hour, get back in, and hang out with my wife a little bit, make breakfast. One thing that I love, and an indicator of wealth for me, is slow mornings. Right, that's true freedom. That's true wealth. Not having to worry about that. So my wife and I, we make breakfast. We spend time with our daughter, and just chill out. 8:30 comes around. I log in on my computer to the Zoom, check in with my team, just say good morning, see how everybody's doing, and then I go back to doing some other things. And then about around like 9:30, 10, then I'm really like diving into like my work day. And that could change from what it looks like day to day.
Putting out fires,
but it's not a ton. And then so my wife's home now, so we just hang out, and honestly, and then 5 o'clock comes, I check in again with my team, say goodbye. We do a daily meeting around 1 o'clock. So that meeting, they just tell me that all the system process that we have, they're being tagged and being marked and doing things like that. So I get the pulse of the agency just in that 1 15-minute conversation, and to know that everything else is running. And then that's it, man. So honestly, I have so much more time now. Like, I thought it was going to be the opposite, And in the first few months I was a lot more hands-on,
Correct.
learning everything like that, and you're going to get that. But now that we're getting a groove,
has it been easier than you thought, buying the business?
So much easier than I thought. Like June was our first month. We were a little bit slower that month. But,
I remember you texting me. Yeah.
June, and then July, August, and now September. We're top 3 in our market out of 77 agencies. Breaking sales goals. I mean, sales records that we've done for the whole year already. So, trending in the right direction. It's really, really cool.
So we're going to deep dive kind of the business here in a little bit, because I think Pablo and I could probably spend hours and hours and hours, and we only got a few because Raul's going to kill us if we go over. But I think this is important for people watching, because a lot of times social media it's like a highlight reel, right? Like I wasn't a pro football player, but in high school, I'm sure you could compile a few good little plays of me, right? And if you only watch that highlight reel, you probably think, oh, that's a pretty good guy, pretty good on what. So social media is exactly that. It's a highlight reel for everybody. So hearing all the cool stuff, and it's all true, it's all reality. That's why Pablo's here. But going back, and you can talk about the business acquisition, you can talk about building real estate, you can talk about building the flipping of the notes and everything. But there are times where you're putting in a lot of work, and maybe the results aren't as instant as we all want them to be. The money's not just flooding in the bank account just yet. And as a matter of fact, you probably have people around you telling you, I don't know, man, you should probably, bail or go do something else or get a 9-to-5 or something like that. Sometimes even loved ones, people you think are in your support, community that are probably naysayers a bit in a loving way. They don't think about it, In those moments, what goes through Pablo's head, and how do you push past those?
Yeah. And this probably has changed over the last few years,
Yeah.
just because I've gotten a lot closer with God, and that's everything, honestly.
That's the number one
I
answer.
turn to Him for everything. Like when I remember even getting into the business, like the reason I also wanted to buy a business was we were having my daughter, so my wife was gonna be stepping away from work, and I was like, well, I got to figure out how to make more money. You know, baby, wife's making less money now, and all that type of stuff. So I actually, when I was looking at businesses, insurance piqued my interest, so I got licensed, and then I actually worked for another company selling life insurance. I'm sorry, Medicare, and I actually was like on the phone all day long, calls on LoopNet, looking at businesses, doing everything in between, and not just trying to figure out how to make enough money. And that was the thing. And I just remember being one day, I was just like, God, like, I'm tired of like worrying about it. Like, it's all yours now. And I just let it go. And then like not even like a month later, like got that business under contract, and it's just been changed after that, man. So in those hard times, honestly, there was a lot through this whole process of over 12 years. I mean, I remember nights like crying, like, how am I going to do this? Like, God, like, what? Why me? And stuff like that. But now, like, I love that. I love all that struggle.
And it's, I think most people, when they're in that moment, because we've all had those low points, crying, emotional, with no clear answer in sight. Like, I just think it's important for everybody watching to know that you're not the only one, right? And I say that lovingly, tough love, but you're not the only one feeling that way. But the problem is, I think that I think ego gets in the way, because with ego comes you not wanting to ask for help, letting other people know your struggles. You're a part of a few masterminds that I think probably focus pretty heavily on mindset, right? How important is that mindset and that proximity in that mastermind?
It's awesome. And I'll give a plug to my buddy Carlos Peralta that does the coaching.
Carlos?
He definitely helped me with my mindset through the process of buying the business, because I actually was in a low point when I first started doing it, because of real estate was booming, and then all of a sudden interest rates changed and everything was changed all at once and stuff like that. So you had to pivot.
I like to always kind of examine, those moments. Again, we're talking about these low points and letting people know that they're not the only ones out there that are struggling, but you almost humbled yourself enough and allowed yourself to be vulnerable to let a Carlos know, or Julian and all of these guys, right? Like, hey, like, I'm struggling here, right? But through that, you got so much back from a Carlos, right?
Oh, so much. And just like more confidence and learning all that type of stuff. You mentioned ego, and there's something that I heard that I liked, that ego is stolen, and then confidence and humility are earned. And that's really what you want. So ego is like me saying I'm better than you, right? But that's just taking something away from you and making me better. So that's stolen. But when you have humility and understanding that it doesn't matter if I'm better than him, he's got his own journey, I'm on my own journey. There's struggles like that. That's real confidence, and that's real humility, and that's where you can make a real difference.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get just caught up on that ego and the pride thing, and that's the root of all sin, right?
What's kind of one or two major takeaways that you've learned being in Carlos's mastermind with the heavy focus on the mindset? Are there habits that you now have, or things that you kind of really focus on that are near and dear to your heart? What are maybe one or two things for the people that would really help them out in mindset?
I love visualization. It's one of my favorite things. And I do it usually when I'm running, because that's my therapy.
So not like a vision board.
No, just like visualizing, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
explain that. Yeah.
Multiple things throughout my life. When I did the Ironman, I wrote on my mirror, "I'm gonna be an Ironman." So I saw that every day, and I visualized like crossing that finish line. I remember even seeing the finish line the day before, and I like posted online. I was like, I've crossed this finish line a million times in my mind already, right? Same thing with the business. I wrote on my mirror, I'm gonna buy a business. Saw it every single day, visualized it, knew I was gonna do it. But now, like, this is what I like to do on my run. So I go on my run, and then I just vision something that I want. I'll paint a picture of, my wife's in the house, my daughter's there, my wife's, probably maybe pregnant with her next daughter or next child. I'm about to have a meeting with Nikki. Real estate's going well. There's X amount of dollars in my bank account, and I just do every single thing I could possibly think of and visualize it, and I just keep saying it, and I'll do that over and over again. And so many times it's just come true. Like it's weird. Like, I don't get it, but it works, so I keep doing it.
No, yeah. My first vision board, it had, because I remember working out of a little corner of my bedroom. I didn't even have an office. Just a mini little desk with a little laptop on it. But I had my vision board like literally it was like right here, like, and I just saw it all the time. And I can't explain the magic of, you put it on the mirror, you visualize. I was seeing it every day, on that vision board. I think I had a new home, like build a new home. I had, for my wife, she just, wanted like an all white, Tahoe, blah, blah, blah. I think I had to put a truck on there, just different things, right? Disney World was on there. All these different things were on there. And they all came true, right? Like, and I just can't explain. When somebody asks, like, how does it work? I really don't have an answer for them. It's just,
but it works.
You just see it every day. I think what it is you start to prioritize every move that you make throughout the day. You start to realize, okay, hold on. I've been on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Like, wait a minute, like this isn't getting me closer to what's on my vision board, right? This isn't getting, so now you prioritize and you shift, right? And I think just over a period of time, you start doing less of the things that are not going to get you to where you want to be.
For sure, yeah. You get more focused with your time, and you know what's going to get you the most bang for your buck, effort for what you're doing. And
do you do affirmations?
So kind of, maybe, not really. I say a prayer, and it's the same prayer every day,
right?
Part of it, and it just goes, thank you, God, for everything you've given me, taken away and delayed. I know your timing is perfect, and I'm patiently waiting. God, thank you for always giving me the wisdom to see the opportunities you place in front of me, and the confidence and courage to act upon them. And then, God, thank you for always giving me the ability to learn everything that I need to learn to achieve what I want to achieve, and the will to do the work. So that's my affirmation.
Right,
That's
right.
That's,
and a prayer can be an affirmation, for sure. I had a pastor, I think it's 4 or 5 steps that he told me. He said, this is how kind of the progression of how you should kind of end up praying for the things that you want. He said, look, I mean, if you just wake up and you're just like, hey, God, I really, want to get out of this situation. There's nothing wrong with that, but kind of like a routine more, right? And how he broke it down, and I've been using it for a little while. Actually got it from a pastor, showed it to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law showed it to me. Shout out to Devin. Thank you so much for that. But the way it starts off is grab some sort of scripture, like open the book, open the Bible, or, if you got an app that pops up Bible verses every day, whatever it is, just spend a few moments meditating and really marinating on whatever that verse or chapter is. Next, you move into kind of thinking about just how powerful and how big God is, right? Like, we serve and we love this amazing God that put like birds in the air and all types of flowers and fish in the sea. Like, the hurricanes, they're so powerful, and it's just it's all God, So now you kind of get this, these emotions in you about how big and powerful God is. Then we go into giving thanks, right? And I know gratitude is
Huge.
huge, right? During your meditations, thinking, and I like the way he put it. It was, what are you thankful for over the past 24 to 48 hours, right? Because we can fall into the trap. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my kids, like kind of canned responses. But when you have to actively think, like, what was I grateful for today or yesterday, right? It actively makes you really, really pick out, man, like I don't know. I got to take my son to baseball practice, and he did amazing. Like I'm just thankful for being there, little things like that. So now that's the gratitude phase. Then we go into kind of like the forgiveness phase. God, forgive me. I'm not perfect, always messing up. I just ask that you wipe my slate clean and just help me, be more like you every day, right? Then and only then, right? Suggestion, ask for what you want. Now we go into, hey, God, I really want to, I want $1 million in my bank account by the end of the month, or whatever the thing is, right? And then he also said, do this in the morning time, right? And look, to be honest, I'm not per se like just a natural morning person. Like this morning, and I don't do this every day, but I woke up about 4:45, got my workout in because I knew we got the podcast and stuff. So
I see you at the F45, 5 a.m. club.
It's tough, man. It's tough. But he said, do this in the beginning of your day. And he said, think about tithing. He said, everybody thinks about tithing monetarily, right? We think about giving our first 10% to God, which is important to give your first 10%, by the way, your first dollar, not your last dollar. But he said you should also tithe with your time. Your first part of your day should be spent with God. That way, you give your first 10% to God so he can bless the remaining 90%.
That's awesome.
Right? So I started really, like, not too long ago, but really trying to actively tithe my time in the morning with God. And I literally ask now, like, bless the rest of this day, like however it may go. So mindset, I think is when you combine the right mindset with good health and fitness habits, I think running business or businesses is pretty easy.
Easy. Yeah, really. I mean, the discipline, waking up, working out, even when you don't feel like it and stuff like that. It all correlates to business, because there's going to be days you don't want to do things and stuff like that, but you have to do it. There's days you don't want to make that call, stuff like that, but you got to keep on doing it until you can get to the point where you can say, okay, maybe I don't want to do it today.
Right.
But you got to work until you get there.
No, absolutely. Pablo, we mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but your daughter, how many months is she now?
She's gonna be 1 year on October 8th.
That's right. That's why you can't come to the event. By the way, everybody watching, Proximity Conference here in Houston, October 8th. Better get your tickets. They're selling out fast. Fatherhood. This is, for me, just totally flipped my world upside down, right? Like, it's just a whole different ball game. Yeah. Talk to me about just what that mindset was, kind of like when you knew y'all were pregnant versus how that kind of changed maybe your actions every day, your priorities every day, your energy every day. Like, how did that impact you, man?
A blessing, honestly. Like, I mean, I was scared first,
Was it planned?
Yeah, it was planned.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but what wasn't planned was real estate dropping down, during that time. So it was a little shock, a little uneasy, but, we were planned, we were happy for it, we were excited. And I always wanted to be a dad. That was like something that was going to be very important to me growing up. Like, I wanted to be there. I built my life to build a business so that I can make sure that I can spend time with my kids.
Yep.
And I was excited for when she's here. And then now, like, there's two sayings I want to say. The one in Spanish, it's like Dios mande el bebé con el pan abajo del brazo. Like it just means that God's gonna send the baby with all the things like the money that you need. Right?
Okay. He'll provide.
The blessings are gonna come with the baby, so you don't need to worry about it. So there's that.
You can tell we're very well versed in Spanish.
Yeah, right. So I just really wanted to be a dad. That was very important to me. Being there, showing up at every event that they have. That was my goal in life. And
Your wife, being an entrepreneur is very demanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot that we have to do, high stress levels. How's she been on the entire journey? And as she kind of, she's seen the ups, she's seen the downs. I'm sure. How's that, having that support system next to you? How's that been for her?
Amazing. I mean, my wife is my rock. I mean, we're high school sweethearts. She's been with me way before I had anything, and believed in me before I even believed in myself, So she's amazing for that, and she has absolutely seen the ups and downs, and she knows that I can, sometimes when we're up, I get a little crazy,
get a little
like
ornery.
She's like, and she's the smart one. She's like, don't do that. The winter's coming up. Like it slows down a little bit. But sometimes I don't like to listen and do it. But she's amazing and super supportive, and yeah.
What are there perspectives that have changed for you since becoming a dad?
Oh yeah, so I was saying, so my wife, going back to working all the time and stuff like that, being an entrepreneur, we're always on our phone, right? Sometimes even at the table and stuff like that. So my wife had to deal with that for a long time. And
Correct.
She would get upset sometimes, but she would understand. But now that we have the baby and we have dinner time, no cell phones at the table and stuff like that. I still catch myself, but my wife's like, we're trying to make that a real habit so I can spend the quality time that's needed. So that's how it's changed. But she pushes me to keep doing more.
Do you ever struggle with, as an entrepreneur? I know I do. Being in the moment sometimes. It could just be a regular Wednesday dinner time, around dinner time, not at dinner, but around the evening time. Kids are just going crazy, or just good family time. Sometimes in situations where I just feel like I got a million things going on, it's hard for me to like be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever find yourself?
Oh, all the time. And I have ADD, and my mind just goes a million miles an hour. So like I could be sitting there with you, and I'll be thinking about 10 different things. So I'll be there with my wife. She'll be talking about, sometimes like things I'm not gonna care too much about, but I want to listen to. But then something pops in my head for the business.
Can you believe she said that, Pablo? You're like, I can't believe it.
So yeah, I mean, it's my mind is always.
How do you bring yourself back to the moment?
I just try to just bring myself present. If I need to, I will put my phone somewhere else.
The phone is probably the biggest issue, right?
Because it's just so simple. Like I thought of something, I could text this person, tell them real quick, or it's I can check an email or text message or something. It's so easy to get distracted by it. So sometimes I will just have to just put it somewhere else.
Right.
And then. But yeah, it gets tough.
It gets tough, man. It gets real tough. I think the phone's the biggest culprit, though. Putting that away, or like, one thing I started doing, and I leave it on permanently now. I don't know if that's a good thing, but my phone is in do not disturb 24/7, like 24/7. So at the end of the day, that's when I'm gonna go and look at what notifications, or I kind of intermittently throughout the day I'm checking my emails, but it's only at the end of the day where I'm looking through a lot of like missed calls or missed texts or whatever it is, because I think I haven't been like medically diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I got ADD as well, and like it takes so long for me to get back on track, right? If I'm on the computer, I'm working on something, I'm focused, and then cling, and then this happens. Now I'm like, where was I? Where was my train of thought? It's like 5-10 minutes just to get back into it. And then within 5 or 10 minutes, cling.
No, I'm the same way. I throw my phone on do not disturb during the day too, just because you have to have that focused time, and there's going to be a million things that people are going to bug you for, and
Yeah.
you just got to get your stuff done
Yeah.
and then deal with everybody else.
So Pablo, I want to deep dive now, finally, into the business, right? Into the insurance business that you bought. We said it already, but such an untapped market here. The opportunities that exist. I think I remember, but just to remind me, was the owner of the business that you bought a boomer? Yeah. So same here, all of mine. And so that baby boomer wave is real. It's very real. It's out there. And I kind of want to just deep dive the journey. So let's just go back to when that
January 1st,
seed
yeah.
was planted.
I remember January 1st, 2023. That's when I said I'm going to go look for a business to buy. I think maybe we were talking about Christmas break or something like that beforehand, but that was it. And then just from there, started on LoopNet.
We had kind of just conversations
Yeah.
throughout, just,
Yeah, we met a couple times on Zoom. You helped me analyze a couple businesses, and that was really just the start of it. Just reaching out to the broker or the seller, asking for those financials and looking at the financials and reading them and understanding how to read them and all that type of stuff. The repetition of that. So that started in January, and it took about 12 months to find the business I bought. Probably could have been, you can definitely be done sooner, quicker. But I was working on a couple of projects that I needed to sell first to be liquid to be able to buy it. But I started talking to sellers, and that's why I said I met the first agency owner. But then I wasn't ready to buy right then. So then September came around, and I got rid of some projects. Instead of really looking for businesses hardcore at that point, and went back to that insurance agency. And he was already talking to somebody else then, but he was still entertaining me, and he didn't want to deal with me until I got pre-approved with a lender. So he got me in contact with his lender, got pre-approved with that. So we started talking more. He told me he wanted to go with the other guy because he was working with him longer. But through there, and this is the confidence, and this is looking for opportunities that I say in my prayers and everything like that is once he said that no to me, I was like, well, that sucks. Now what am I going to do? So I went to the lender, and I was like, hey, if you know anybody selling, let me know, because I'm approved, blah, blah, blah. So he got me in contact with the regional manager for Allstate in Florida. I had an interview with him, and they liked me. And then that's how I got information about this other agency that was for sale. And
Was that with a broker?
that one was with a broker, but I don't think it was really marketed. It was kind of more off age. He was represented by a broker, but I got the information directly from.
Did they get their 12%?
I think he got less, way less.
Way less?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I thought he was going to get that much too, but then once I saw the closest end, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, so went through that interview, found this other agency, talked to him, went through due diligence, and then we signed the contract.
Well, hold on, because that's all Chinese to a lot of people.
You're right, okay.
Right. So I'll kind of, you keep going, and I'll just kind of pop in when I think it's important for the audience. I guess let's rewind to conversationally, right? So I think a lot of people have the real estate journey. They understand that part, right? You get a list, you find somebody, you talk to them, you have conversations. Eventually, a contract gets signed, right? Over here on this side, you were looking at the businesses. You probably inquired about several. How do the conversations sound with these business owners relative to maybe how they sound when you catch a homeowner on the line?
I think it's so much easier talking to business owners, and for the simple fact that it's their business and everybody likes to talk about themselves, right? So they're going to talk about the thing they built with all the passion in it. You just let them talk. Let them get excited about that. Agree with them, help them share the same vision of where it could go and things like that. and just really just building that rapport. And that's all it really took. And
How many times did you meet with the business owner before you got ink?
a few times. We
Physically or virtually?
Yeah, physically and virtually. Went to the agency, I think, a couple times to talk there. Went to lunch. Brought Nikki with me also, just so you can kind of see our team and who we're going to be bringing into the agency. Met on Zoom a bunch of different times to go over different financials and had different questions and things like that. But then, so then we signed an LOI, a letter of intent, which opened up for the due diligence period.
So, and I don't know if there was a lot changed from the initial LOI, which, guys, an LOI is a letter of intent, like Pablo said. It's kind of like your purchase contract almost for a real estate deal. It's kind of like the piece of paper that triggers the process of selling, right? It's not the deed. It's not the closing document. It's what starts the whole process. On that LOI, in my experience, what is signed off up front, post due diligence, kind of changes. Did your LOI veer off a lot from what was signed up front after due diligence? And what were those terms up front?
I would say it definitely changed. We adjusted the price and just structured it differently. But I think he was asking originally like 1.65, and I think my original offer was 1.5.
Okay.
And then we got down to 1.6. I'm sorry, 1.4.
Okay.
But then once I negotiated taking those commissions from the month before, that was $60,000. So I bumped his.
But went up.
So 1.46 was the final, and then, like I said, negotiating the commissions. That wasn't the original thing. And I got that from you with the whole NFL style contract. And
for those that don't know, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it was one of the coolest things I like about your course was that, in the NFL, you have somebody who catches, they do 100 yards in a game, they'll get like a bonus or something like that. They do 1,000 yards for the season, they'll get another bonus. So you can really structure your deals that way too. So on this one, I negotiated getting the commissions. That was part of it. And then I since I didn't know anything about insurance, I needed to make sure that I had a good teacher. And so I had the seller stay on actually for 12 months. That was the original plan for 12 months. And his compensation was just going to be paid out from the bonus. But he would only get paid if we got that bonus. So he had invested reason for him to be there and make sure that we do well. Plus, again, also, he has the AI business that he needs to make sure that we look good so that he can sell his software.
Right.
So it just made sense. So we structured, that was the final structure of the deal. He would stay on for 12 months as a consultant. And that was awesome, because I just bounced things off of him. And
How often do y'all communicate? Once a
every
week?
other day.
Every other day? Okay.
Yeah. We tried to every day, especially the first 3 months. We were meeting in person, and then like all my staff is all work from home, so everybody works virtually. So we would meet at the agency, do some work there, and then separate back and work from home. And then as I started learning different processes, we meet less and less. And then since we're virtual, we just started meeting on Zoom now. Don't have to commute. Don't have to do any of that. So the agency is like an hour away from my house.
Okay.
So that's great. That's 2 hours you're not wasting.
Did you have to go in there and implement communications platforms and things like that, or was Zoom just a regular thing for them already?
Yeah, Zoom was already regular. It's provided through Allstate since the franchise. We get a lot of awesome softwares, and I love it because there's track every single KPI. Like it's all there. It's just a plug and play type system. And then his business, his agency was just plug and play also. So yeah, it works well.
Yeah. Okay, so conversations were happening. You got the LOI signed. Can you give the breakdown financially of what the LOI kind of looked like? How much seller financing there was? How much cash you were putting down? The loan?
So again, SBA requires that you have at least 10% down. I think from the beginning, I put that it was going to be 5 from me and 5 from the seller on a seller carry. So that's what the numbers look like. I think
Was he on a standby? Is
yes,
he?
yes. The
okay,
SBA, you have to be on a standby for 2 years, and then you pay off the rest within those 8 years.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on a standby, but to get from 10% to 5%, they need to be on a standby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and this is always a bit of a wordy explanation, the standby. But can you explain for our viewers what a standby is for a seller?
Like the seller note, like where I don't have to pay him essentially for 2 years. And that's part of the SBA rules, so that, make sure that the company's running well and everything like that, and that the SBA gets paid first. So 2 years, you don't have to pay him. You pay him. You set the interest rate on that, whatever you guys negotiate. I think we're at like a 6 or 7%. I can't remember exactly.
I got one for 4.
There you go. Nice.
70%.
Yeah. So
seller financing.
wow. Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, you can get these huge amounts of seller financing, but sometimes it's harder to get the seller to agree to that.
Yep.
But it's a lot easier to get a 5%, right? And then
Yep.
that's half of your down payment if you're
Yep.
using financing.
Now you're getting closer to zero out of pocket.
0 out of pocket, and then working capital more than 0 out of pocket.
Yep.
Better than 0 out of pocket.
Yep.
So then that's how we structured that deal.
And just so they understand, the seller's still getting something on the day of closing, right?
Oh yeah.
What are they getting on the day of closing?
They're getting the 90%.
Yep.
Yep. So
Or
they're getting
95%?
well, his 5% is the
5% is the
note.
yeah, that's right.
So he's
that's right.
walking away with 90%.
Yeah.
Of the purchase price.
Was it because I get a lot of students or just general questions where they're like, why would a seller, like, that seems pretty like a big ask of a seller. Was it much of an ask at all? I don't believe it was a
I
big.
don't think. I mean, 5% is
Nominal.
That's nominal. Like they're going to say, you're going to give me an offer? Sure, I'll take the 5%.
And that's right there, Pablo. That's where we should probably spend a couple minutes. The how much of a buyer's market buying businesses is versus how much of a seller's market it is in real estate, despite the rates and everything. They don't have 10, 15 wholesalers lined up. I used to be a part of these lines, lined up to try and give you an offer. So when a real legit offer comes around and they say, hey, listen, you're going to get 90 some odd % of your money the day we close. You just got to, for that other little piece, you just got to wait 24 months. And then I'll start paying you on that other little piece. They're a pig in mud, right?
Yeah, it's nothing. It's tiny percentage, So, yeah, they love it, and it's like you said, it's definitely there's not, they don't have a million offers, so they're happy to get something, but you can also leverage that, and that's why I was like, I want these commissions. I needed to make the deal attractive for me, and still give him what he needs.
Who was your negotiating coach? Like, who was feeding you all of this? Hey, I should ask for this. I should counter with this. Like that negotiating hat. Was it just simply you, but based on all of your real estate experience and how to negotiate in that industry?
Yeah. I also kind of made a little model of, what the down payment, what, the financials of what the NOI is, how much am I going to be able to pay the debt, and how much money is going to stay with the company. So I just played around with those numbers until I figured something out that looks good. Right. And that's how it worked. Yeah. So, studying the financials, knowing the NOI, and then just calculating backwards from that, all right, it's going to pay off the debt, and it's going to leave me with X amount of money. And if I need X amount of money to come in, what's my return? And that's what I figured out. And then once I learned about the working capital, that just changed. It just changes your.
Were you like, wait, let me get this straight. Were you like, you're gonna give me money when we close?
Yeah. I honestly, I didn't even even the day of closing, like I was still like
Skeptical?
I was like, how does this work? Like,
You're not really
Like,
giving me that, are
yeah,
you?
like I'm like, I was like, do I even have to send my 85?
Yeah, they
Like,
won't net it though,
you
right?
have to,
Yeah, they
yeah.
won't net it.
Yeah. So like but it was, I was like, wow, so.
The SBA process in and of itself, I've been through it a couple of times now. It can be a bit much at times. How easy or
So for
not
me,
easy?
it was pretty easy. With SBA, one, you do have to look good to the SBA, but it's heavily on the business.
Mm-hmm.
Can the business pay the debt? And that's what they're going to look at. And
It's basically like for those out there in real estate, it's kind of like a DSCR loan, right?
yep, exactly, just like that.
I think the better question here maybe is how much of the SBA process and getting through all of that bogged you down or didn't bog you down?
So I remember. So the SBA was pretty easy, just taking the financials from the seller's tax returns. The business was approved pretty easily, and then came to me, and I had to send in my tax returns and show that I'm making good money, and that I'm still running my other businesses and everything like that. And I got approved through there, and it was pretty easy. I've actually had to go through bigger hoops on rehabs. Like literally after I got approved for that, I had to refinance a property I had in Houston, and they were like asking for a million different bank statements.
It's so different with real
Yeah.
estate.
And the SBA, they were, okay, here's this, and this, and this, and they're like, done. And I'm like, okay.
There's, in my opinion, there's 3 different type of, I guess, phases when you're doing due diligence, right? Because for those that don't know, you go under contract like LOI, and almost like how the title company does the title search, that's kind of their due diligence, right? Well, that's on us, right, during buying a business. To me, there's 3 phases. There's the legal due diligence, the financial due diligence, and then like the operational due diligence, right? Like just seeing the business for itself. How did you tackle all those 3? Was it solo? Did you have some, some associates that helped you? What did that look like?
I did. So, friend of mine, Richard Berner, who's a M&A attorney in Tampa, and he's also on my triathlon team. I reached out to him to help me out, do the legal parts of it, and then the financial side of it. Like being in college, like the only thing I really paid attention to was my accounting and financing classes. So
Loser. No, I'm just from a CPA. Loser.
So I knew how to read financial statements, but even that was still new. And honestly, I used ChatGTP. I would upload the financial statements, copy
That's
and paste,
crazy.
and put it into there. And
What would you ask it?
just tell me the NOI. Tell me what's the
Should I buy
EBITDA.
this?
Yeah. What's the multiple for insurance agencies? Dude, there's so much knowledge, right? From there, and again, I kind of knew what I was doing with the financial statements, so the ChatGPT was kind of just like a checking to make sure that I did it right. But you could absolutely use it. So did that for the financials, and then after that, so the operations side, I didn't really get to meet or anything like that for the employees beforehand.
You had to do a post close.
Yeah, we let them know about 30 days or so before I even took over. Allstate has their own process of
Gotcha.
going through training, doing the due diligence of UCC searches and all that type of stuff, the legal. So then we let them know in May that I was taking over, and I got to meet with them for the first time. I was just here in Houston.
Right.
So I got to do a Zoom with them, introduce myself, and then in June, day 1, took over, and it's just been good since then. But
I think one thing that really blew my mind when I first closed on the first CPA firm was you, especially as younger bulls, we got all this energy, at least compared to these boomers. We think that we have to go into these businesses and rehab them the way you go into a house, and because you close on a house, if flipping is your exit, or even renting, right? If that's your exit, the day you close, you probably already have all your bids. A good flipper will have all their bids already. They're making up, let's go, and you're in there, and they're just going to work, going to town, right? It's not like that with a business. Did you kind of have to like pump the brakes on yourself a little bit?
I like when I had that first meeting with them, I made it clear from the very beginning, and even with the seller, that I wasn't changing anything. Like, you guys,
And that's crucial.
you guys have proved that you guys are doing something right. Like, just keep doing that. And that's what I explained to them. Then once I got in there, I did make a couple little changes. One big thing was we had a different software called Perfumology, which just really tracks like so all your like different KPIs, but like metrics,
Like a CRM
ROI. No, it's more of a
analytic
analytics tool. So I can I know how many leads employees one of the salespeople is taking, and how much sales they've converted of that. So I know their ROI and stuff like that. And then also like where our leads or most profitable leads are coming from. So it tracks all that, and that's been awesome. So even the seller, he was like, I wish I would have known about this, when I was doing it, because it's great. So that was one change that I did there. And then I did hire another staff, another sales agent, so that we can increase sales, because I knew where I wanted to go, and I knew a number that I wanted to hit. My goal is to do 100 cars a month, a minimum. So I knew we needed to have one more salesperson to make sure that we hit that. And that's really the only changes that I've done.
So you kind of knew going into it that you didn't want to go and just, I want to implement this program and this software, and I want to do this and change it, like you kind of just knew, don't rock the boat.
Yeah. And I mean, I looked at this as truly as an investment, right? It's working. They're doing, I told them, I was like, as long as everybody does your job, I'm not going to bug you. Just do your job. You guys prove that you can do it. You guys are, an elite agency, which is, there's 3 levels: emerging, pro, and elite. So it's an elite agency. I think the year before they finished in like the top 1%. So it's a great staff. They know exactly what they're doing. And I just looked at that, like, just let them do it. Keep going. It's a machine, and it just pays me. So it's an investment.
What are the first 1 or 2 things that you had to do post close? Like, you just bought it yesterday. Today's day 1 of owning it. So like for me, like one thing that I just hadn't really thought about prior to closing on the first one was like bank accounts and just a whole bunch of little file this and process here. Like, what were those first few things that you kind of had to really roll up your sleeves and kind of tackle?
Let's see. But yeah, I mean, the bank accounts, all the transferring, stuff like that. Luckily, again, we have a decent sized staff. I have an operations team. So a lot of that stuff, we just kind of just like, hey, can you handle this for me?
Got you.
So I didn't really do too much of like that type of stuff. But I work for an Allstate agency. So we sell Allstate insurance. But we also have a brokerage side through different carriers, so we can sell more than just Allstate.
Gotcha.
And I have to go through a process to get appointed by all those carriers. So it's like a million applications. So that was the hardest thing, honestly.
Right.
Just mundane. What's your tax ID number or your address, your phone number, just 50 different times.
Any staff drop off or client drop off that you've experienced?
No. So that was one thing they did tell me during training, was that prepare for somebody to leave. I wanted to make sure that nobody left. So, I came out strong and let them know that, like, hey, I want to make you guys more money. I'm here to make you guys more money. We got this like a technology bonus our first month. So during our training, they tell us, like, you don't have to use this technology bonus anymore. You can use it as like an incentive to like give to your employees. So I took that money and I just started incentives, extra bonuses, something like that. Just get them really, really hyped up again.
Does it work?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we hit our numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I make it so it's a team thing. If we hit it as an agency, everybody gets paid out. Some people will get, as they go on sales more, but we're a team,
Right.
and that's what I really wanted them to come across from the beginning, is that we're all in this together and we got to grow it together.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think culture, I think it sounds like you kind of landed one where the culture was already where it mostly maybe needed to be.
Yeah, I would say mostly. I don't want to say anything bad, but there may have been a little bit of hostility maybe towards the end of the seller being in there with the employees. Just what I've heard. Not hostility is probably not the right word. He probably had a ton of things going, and his style was more hands on with them, where I'm more, you do your thing, I'm trusting you to do it, and that was more well received by them.
Less of a like I got my thumb on you.
Yeah. So that's good, but it goes both ways, because sometimes you can be a little too relaxed, and then they get too relaxed.
Yep.
So you got to find that good combination of staying there and staying on top of people, make sure that they're doing what they're doing. And I'm not gonna lie, probably this month a little bit we've kind of slacked off a little bit because of that. But I would say even on me. So I'm these are all learning things that you have to go through,
right,
and adjust and make sure that you can do what you have to do.
Was there any skills in real estate that you're using currently in your business, or even like softwares or platforms, or like anything from your business, your real estate business, that you're implementing in your insurance business?
I'm sure. It's a lot of the same, just buying leads, calling on them, and that's it. So we do a lot of internet leads. We buy those, and we have like callers that'll call out for them and connect it to our agency.
So you got cold callers, lead generation, all the same things that most real estate investors are probably doing right now anyway.
Text message,
all of that.
It's pretty much it's different industry, different product, same game.
You were able to kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Any challenges that you're currently seeing in the business?
So that's again, this month I feel like for the last couple of weeks we've been a little bit more relaxed. Sales have been a little bit lower, and then the hurricane is in town in Florida. So once that happens, they put in a moratorium, so you can't really write business. So
how long does that last?
Depends on the storm. So this one they started out early, like on Tuesday, parts of Florida, and then Wednesday the rest of Florida, and then today I think they're closed. We can still quote and things like that and get people ready for next week and stuff like that, but we just can't issue it.
Right. Do you get a lot of is it primarily is the insurance company primarily like car insurance, house insurance?
It's mainly PNC, which is property and casualty, so home and auto. Allstate right now in Florida, they're not writing home. I'm sure you've heard Florida is crazy with homeowners insurance and stuff like that. So that's the reason that we have the brokerage side, so that we can offer our clients different home coverage. But auto is our main focus. And so every policy that we sell has a point value to it. And then the amount of points you get is how you grow the agency to get that bonus that I was talking about. And so you get more points for a house than a home. Than a car.
Gotcha.
Right. But a house policy takes a lot more time, because you got to get different inspection reports, and it's a whole bunch. It's a hassle. So we'll sell the auto first, and then go back and try to cross-sell the home. One thing that I changed when I came in, well, not necessarily changed, but I did a little bit more focus on, is an auto renters combo.
So you can kind of create your own packages?
Yeah. So, and the reason for that is we have what's bundling. I'm sure you've heard of that in insurance. So we have to hit our metrics, to hit our bonus, we have to have like 50% bundle rate for the household. So when you sell the auto first and then the car, it takes longer to get that bundle. But if you do an auto and a renters, it's instantaneously, and you get that bundle automatically. Renters is smaller points, but you get that bundle, and that bundle is a higher commission rate now also. So that's what I looked at. I was like, I can increase our commissions just by going after those deals. And I think June, our commission rate was like maybe like 16, 17, and now we're like 20, 22 a month just by making that change.
Wow.
And so just little things like that. That's I like numbers, so that's where I can pick things out.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for a real estate investor? I mean, presumably a bit seasoned real estate investor, right? Like, I think if you're about to do your first wholesale deal in real estate, you might not be at the point of buying a business, right? Unless you have some other backgrounds. But what would you say, is probably one of the bigger challenges for a real estate investor in buying their first business?
I would say the biggest thing in anything is just getting out of your own way. I've obviously it's possible, and I've done it. I don't think I'm anything special, so anybody else can do it, and it's just getting out of your own way and starting it and doing it. Learning if you're coming just from like residential, I would say maybe try to like learn some commercial side a little bit, just like financials and numbers and cash flow, just balance statements and whatever, you know what I'm talking about, financial statements. So you can get that kind of background, but that's all you need. Is once you learn that part, and it's again, there's tons of software you can ChatGPT will do it for you. So never, like I said, that was my big thing. I would never let anything stand in my way. I can learn everything, and you can just go out there and do it. So.
Back to the opportunity here, Pablo. What would you tell all of the audience, predominantly real estate investors, what would you tell them about your experience in buying a business, about what you've gone through, about the opportunity, and about what maybe they should start looking at?
I definitely think everybody should start looking at businesses. It's life-changing. And again, like I said, it all goes together. So it's not one better than the other. The active cash flow that we make from these businesses are just going to go back into real estate, commercial real estate, so you can depreciate, pay less taxes, stuff like that. So it all works together. But the income that you can get from a business is it's way higher than any other asset class that I've seen. And again, everything is a job. So if you're going to flip houses, that's a job. You might as well buy a job that has a track record of working.
Right.
And like I've tried different. I tried in Tampa, in different markets, wholesaling and things like that, and you can burn a ton of money early on, right? And once you realize you can find something that's already done, already went through all those hard times, it just makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Pablo, anybody out there that's really, if they've been with us this long, they're pretty interested in your story and in possibly buying their first business as well. What kind of advice or recommendations would you give them to get started on their journey?
Reach out to Chris. Proximity. Get around people, man. That's really it. Get around people who want the same thing. It's just going to put you in a better mindset. You're going to go home. You're going to focus on growing yourself and learn skills. Take advantage of all the ChatGPT. Learn all that type of stuff because that's where it's all going. AI. Learn it all, and just don't be afraid. I mean, that's it. Like you can fail. You can fail at anything. So might as well try something awesome.
Those 3 laws of success, man. There's for those that don't know, I have these 3 laws of success. Law number 1 is just start. Law number 2 is be consistent. And law number 3 is stay uncomfortable. And I truly, honestly, deep down in my core, I really do lean on these 3 principles. And I believe that if you follow these 3 principles in anything that you do, you're going to be successful. I mean, think about your Ironmans, right? There was a point where you had to just start. To be consistent is the grind, and the stay uncomfortable is constantly pushing, right? Constantly pushing past, okay, I did a mile like nothing yesterday. I'm going to do a mile and a quarter today maybe, or 2 miles, whatever it may be. Don't just stay in that comfort zone, right? Do you kind of feel like those are probably it right
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I mean, I honestly, like, since you started coming out with that, all the time I hear in my head, just start. Like, even if I need to do something, like, I don't want to, just start.
Just start.
You know, and that really is, and the consistency. Like I said earlier, you know, most people think in hours and days, but you start thinking in years and decades. Like, and that consistency. Maybe in 6 months you're not going to be there.
Right.
Maybe in a year you're not going to be there. But eventually,
right,
you're going to get there.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that separation between everybody else who never started, who didn't stay consistent, and you know, that's it. Just like Kobe Bryant says, you know,
the mama mentality, right? What are one or two or three things that up until this point in your life you've realized and learned that there are some very fundamental beliefs and core values and principles that if you live by them, you'll be a good person, successful, so on and so forth. What are some of these things that you're already envisioning? Because Cece's, you know, a little young right now, but she's going to get older very quickly, right? She's going to start learning and soaking up information, and I've seen it with my kids, right? What are some of the things that you want to make sure that you impart on her as she's getting older, you know, adolescence into adulthood? What are these things that you've learned in life so far, all your pains, all your struggles? What are some of these things you want to make sure that she learns?
First is to pray, to look for God whenever you need him. That's for sure. And then understanding that you literally can do whatever. You can do anything. You know, as long as you put your mind to it, stay consistent, you can accomplish it. And I want her to know that the only thing I care about is her being happy. You know, I wanted to work. I wanted to do all this so that I could give it, so that my kids didn't have to struggle and worry about all that, and they can just focus on being happy.
Right.
You know. So, but at the same time, I want them to know that, you know, do whatever makes you happy, but understand that being an owner and having freedom is something you can't really, it's gonna be really hard to achieve in the regular workforce.
Yep.
And I want her to understand that, you know, not trading time for hours, you know, I mean, hours for dollars, you know.
Don't you think that was probably like a generational hiccup that the boomers didn't learn, and no fault of their own, right? But I feel like they missed that.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole school system, you know, is designed to, based off, you know, like the assembly line, to people bell to bell, do this,
indoctrinate them,
and it's from the beginning. So you know that's just what you did. That's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to go out. You know, I wanted to go work on Wall Street and work for somebody else. But then, you know, as you start, when I realized that like you can make bigger chunks of money faster and have more freedom, then that's where I want to put my time.
What as you're getting busier and you're getting more successful here, Pablo, do you find yourself being more choosy about the proximity that is around you, like on a daily or weekly or monthly basis?
For sure, yeah.
Are there old kind of friends and drinking buddies and stuff like that you've had to?
Not, I mean, like,
not in a rude way.
Yeah, not in a rude way. But we've, you know, throughout the last 12 years, you know, definitely made that separation from now. I used to drink all the time. You know, you saw me at the you know, AC's networking events, you know, years and years ago and stuff like that. But definitely got away from that. More focused onto people who are going in the same direction, learning from them. Like I told you, I started doing different networking events with just business owners. So yeah, definitely you put yourself in the situations that you want to be in.
Absolutely, proximity, right? I mean, that's literally what it's all about. Where do you see the business acquisition world, people buying small businesses? Where do you see this evolving over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think it's in boom. I think it's going to boom really, really big.
Yeah. The next real estate?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes.
Because remember, guys, you can wholesale the businesses too.
You can, and like again, it's life-changing money if you find the right business. You know, I mean, even a small business. You know,
right.
You're like $100,000. That's you know, a lot of people don't make that.
I tell people, guys, you are you probably messed up if you buy a business and you can only put $5,000 a month in your bank account. Like you probably did something wrong, right? But how hard is it to go generate passively and consistently $5,000 a month in real estate?
Very hard.
Very hard.
And you're going to spend a lot of time till you get to that point, you know? So businesses are going to boom. I'm going to buy more. I know you're going to buy more.
We'll probably buy one together at some point.
Hopefully, yeah. Absolutely. That'd be awesome. You know, I got Carlos, you know, a few people from his mastermind that have seen me in my story, and now they're puke Luis, you know, so like the assisted living facilities that you're going to be talking about coming up here. So it's making a huge wave. And like I said, there is a huge wealth transfer, you know, and you know, you can't miss it. You can't miss that. Like you have to be part of it.
The baby boomer wave is real. The silver tsunami, if you will, is absolutely real. Pablo, purpose. It's something that I feel in my journey and getting closer to God as well over these past few years. I feel like it's centered around purpose for me. What is your purpose, and has your purpose changed? You know, what does that look? What do you believe your purpose is right here, right now in life?
Being a dad, man. Like I said, that was always my dream. I wanted to be the best dad, and you know, everything about that is made all my decisions to get to where I'm at today. And then purpose now, like understanding how life changes this, I want to share it. I want everybody else to know how amazing this is.
Right.
Because I mean, like, I did great in real estate, but this is nothing compared to what I've done in real estate. And it's just one deal.
And you know, I'm sure Pablo probably, you know, got a little annoyed with me at times by trying to get you, you know, into Houston. I know you got a lot going on back home. But I told you, I remember texting you, like, people have to hear your story, right? And I know you knew that. I just know you have a lot going on. But, I mean, brother, you're one of the best kept secrets of success, and it's just because you're a very humble guy, you know. And I think that's the problem with a lot of successful people is they're a bit more private and they're very humble. So we tend to not view the accomplishments that we have, our accolades almost, as anything special, right? But my driving thought has always been like, at one point I was a nobody just starting off, and I just needed the Pablos out. Like think about how powerful this is. There's somebody out there that's gonna watch this, you out there in YouTube land, and they're gonna be so moved by your story that they're gonna go buy their first business.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Reach out to me. I'll help you. You know, we'll help you.
Yeah.
But so I mean, yeah, it's amazing. It's good.
Pablo, to wrap up, I have a event coming up, right? Obviously, and I'm going to be talking to people about how to buy the businesses for $0, or even better, put money in your pocket when you close. Other speakers and stuff are going to be there, but I will be talking to people about how to do it. My community, my course, what I offer, knowledge, expertise, all these things.
You're phenomenal, bro. Like seriously, it's like to go into a space that no one else is doing, and the way you do it and putting yourself out there. And a year ago, people were joking, laughing at us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they were.
But I remember even getting into real estate when I told my friends that the first time I flip houses, they laughed at me.
Yep.
You know, I'm telling them I had business and laughed at me, but you know, here we are.
Yep.
You're a great guy. You know, your course, like I talked about it, I picked up a lot of little tidbits here and there that I use. That's, you know, phenomenal in itself. Like the way I structured that deal, I got from your course. So
awesome.
For sure. It's awesome. And then I've known you for so long, man, and you're a great person. You're out there, you know, helping out other people, and that speaks volumes, you know.
Awesome.
So yeah, in the world that most people are trying to look out for themselves, you know, you're out there trying to make it better for everybody else.
Yeah. So would you recommend people jumping in the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come in, join his, get his course, join his mastermind, his everything like that. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help, share more of my story, share more of my insights, anything I can to help everybody else, you know. And I think that's why we like working with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you guys how important, you know, for me, for my own personal proximity, when I sense people with very large egos and very large sense of pride, for whatever it's, you know, I tend to distance myself from those people, right? Pablo is a stand-up guy, probably has zero ego, man. I mean, this guy is super humble. Like, I remember the first time I met him, I didn't know he was virtually basically wholesaling from Tampa in Houston, right? Like, that's such a crazy thing to do. And he's like, yeah, that's what I do, but, you know, how are you doing? So I think that ego thing, I heard somewhere that your ego is the only thing standing in the way of everything that you want. And I from thinking you can do it yourself, you can do it all yourself, to having ego and not asking people for help when you need it, I think that is like what will truly stunt somebody's growth in whatever they're trying to do. Is like, you have to be humble enough to just go up to somebody and say, I don't know it all. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong. And I need help.
Yep. And those are really hard words to say sometimes, you know.
Very.
But you definitely have to do it. And that's kind of like we talked about, like what I kind of went with Carlos, and you know, and asking you your help to buy the business and stuff like that. So yeah, you definitely have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there. You have to work on yourself, and it's always a process.
Yeah.
You know, you always got to continuously do it. It doesn't mean like just all of a sudden just better.
Were you ever a very prideful person, or have you always just been a real humble person?
Oh no, I'm a Sagittarius. I've got a bit. So you say I don't have an ego. So there's some I have. There's an ego, but especially back in the day, a lot more. My shoes right here, it says PMFL. So my name is Pablo Luna, but it's Pablo motherfucking Luna.
Woo!
So that was my ego back then. But that Pablo motherfucking Luna is what got me here today.
Right. No,
you know?
for sure. There's a balance to it, right? I think there's a difference between like the ego and the confidence, right? But I guess my point is, like, Pablo, I'm telling you, like, y'all don't sleep on Pablo. Like, he's a big deal here in Houston. And it could have been very easy for Pablo to say, I'm not going to ask that dude CJ for help. Like, do you know who I am? Right? Like, I'm not going to, and I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot of y'all out there that are not doing what Pablo does and asking for it. It doesn't have to be me, right? But there's a lot of you out there that refuse to ask people for help. Pablo could have easily done that, but maybe you didn't get the nuggets, or, you know, join the course, or whatever it may have been, just a relationship, right? And I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, doing that again and again with different people, it led you to experience the lifestyle that you have now, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep on keeping on. Really, just like, you know, it's. Sorry, man. I totally.
No, you're good. You're good. It's the ego, man.
Yeah.
Lack of ego.
Yeah.
You know, and I've told this story a couple of times, but we had a mastermind. You've seen the Narcos shows and everything, right? One of the original members of the Medellin cartel was Jorge Valdez. He has a Netflix series and all of this stuff. I did a mastermind at his house in Orlando. Cooked us Wagyu brisket, and it was a really cool mastermind, private mastermind. But I remember over dinner asking him, Medellin cartel was the most powerful global entity back in the late 70s and 80s. Like, it was all about the cocaine. They were shoving it into Miami, right, and just spreading it all. This dude had bodyguards. He bought all the houses around his mom. He had 24 security walking there, and he just had everything, right? But he also went through it. He plane crashed in Panama, Noriega tortured him, just all this crazy stuff. Pablo Escobar put a hit on him, all these different things, right? So I asked him, I said, how does the most powerful entity in the world crumble? Like, because in my opinion, if you and I were at the helm of Apple right now, right, or Google, like it's like there's no reason it should crumble. There's no reason that was like Apple crumbling. He gave me a one-word answer: ego.
Ego, yeah.
And so my thought process was always, if ego can kill the most powerful global entity in the world, it can kill anybody's business. None of us are immune to it.
For sure. That's what I mean. Like I've read, like, ego and pride is the root of sin. So it's like ego, like, I know better than God. I know better than what He's saying.
Right.
I'm going to do it this way, even though I know it. So that's
Right.
ego.
Well, and I mean, honestly, that's how the devil became the devil. He was actually the quote unquote perfect angel. He could play the music. He could sing the most beautiful. He could do all of that. But then that little thought in his head that was like, I'm better than you. I'm better than my maker. I'm better than God. That, boom, killed everything, right? So if pride and ego created who we call the devil now, if that happened, you need to like really focus and check yourself on ego. It's very hard, man. Like, especially as men, like we just always, I'm a man, and how dare you? Like, give me some respect, But I have seen in my own journey that almost like actively trying to out humble people has just it comes back like 100-fold.
It's more authentic.
100% more authentic. 100% more authentic. Like your approach with your business, right? I mean, hey guys, I'm not here to call the change everything. Like, hey, I just want things to run, guys. Yeah. Right? More relatable. People, you can lead better, right? You can lead a whole lot better when you have their investment emotionally versus trying to rule with an iron fist, right? So
that's that was I think my cousin told me, it's like the difference between powerful and forceful. Like most people, like the iron fist, that's forceful. You're not going to get as far. But if you're powerful and you can inspire them to do something you want, that's where it comes from.
And I have a saying in the community. I say, learn how to have a powerful conversation with somebody, and the world is your oyster.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that holds true in everything that you do. So, Pablo, is there anything else you want to tell our viewers, our audience, man, before we wrap up here?
Thank you for having me on here.
Absolutely, man.
Go out, buy a business, and I'm going to plug the Iron Man and say that if you want to change your life and just become amazing, do an Iron Man.
Ooh, and when's the next Iron Man coming up?
So the next one I'm doing is August 6th in Ottawa, Canada.
Okay, what is involved in an Iron Man?
2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then a full marathon, 26.2 miles.
In how many days?
1 day. you have 17 hours to do it.
I'm over here like, so this is over about 3 weeks?
Yeah, I know.
So so what do you got to do when you go to the bathroom? You just got to stop and just run to the bathroom?
Yeah, I mean, so there's porta potties on there. So the pros, like really, really good people who are trying to like make money, stuff like that, they'll pee on themselves and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah.
What if you're behind them and you're like...
You're trying to win money. And honestly, my first half Ironman I did distance in Sarasota. I got off the bike and all of a sudden I had to like pee really bad. I didn't even know, but there was no porta potties around. So I had to go out on the run, and next thing I know, I just started peeing my pants. I got down, I was like tying my shoes, and but like that's how it is. And then I got second place in that, and then that helps me qualify to go to the world championships and stuff like that. So you got to do what you got to do sometimes, but. That's how you go to the best of your mind.
Now you know the insider tips, guys. Pablo, thank you so much for kind of breaking out of your schedule. I know you have a lot going on back home in Florida. Thank you for coming here. I know that there's people that are going to be watching this that are going to get a lot of inspiration and maybe even that belief, that confidence finally to say, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go buy my first business, or I'm gonna do my first Ironman, or whatever it may be. You know, I think this is very inspirational for a lot of people, man. So I don't even think you realize how impactful this will be for a lot of people.
Awesome. I hope so. You know, you just gotta. They say, like, you know, you have two wolves, you know, inside you, and one lives in the light and one lives in the darkness, right? So which one lives? The one you feed.
Yep.
So you just got to make sure you feed that good side. You keep on doing that and just stay focused, man.
Absolutely.